Welcome to this video on AutoTrack. AutoTrack is a feature which allows you to automatically track your mileage. What the app does is use GPS to track your movement and record your drives. This feature is available in MileTracker, XpenseTracker, and BizXpenseTracker. This feature is a subscription-based feature, but by no means do you need to have this feature to effectively track your mileage in any of those three apps. However, if you want the most hands-off, easiest way to track mileage, AutoTrack is the way to go. So this video will be applicable for folks who have been using one of those three apps and have used the AutoTrack feature and just want to learn a little bit more about the details and getting around how to use the feature. It's also good for people who are just about to subscribe and want to learn how to subscribe and begin using the feature. And it's also a good if you want to just take a look and see how it all works and you haven't yet decided. So let's get started. We're running an iPhone 6 simulator here, running MileTracker. If you're familiar with the app, you know that you have to create at least one log before you save any entries. So we'll go ahead and do that. And we'll name the log July 2016. Now, this is when I'm creating the video in July, but the feature has been out for well over a year, and this is actually the second iteration of the in-depth video to show more of the available features and enhancements that are in the feature. So if you've seen the other in-depth video, you can certainly watch this one, and I guarantee you'll get a lot out of it as well. So I'm going to save this new log, and we're brought into what is called the entry view screen. Now at the bottom of the entry view screen is a drives button. I'm going to tap on that, and this is where you will see your automatically recorded drives. Now we're not yet subscribed and we haven't yet gone driving, so there's no drives here. But this screen will come up and it detects that we're not yet subscribed, and to check out options and click on that and see. There are two options available. There's a monthly subscription, which is $3.99 a month, and there's a yearly, which is $39.99 a year. Now these prices are for the US. The yearly is basically you pay for 10 months and get 12 months. Now, regardless of if you subscribe monthly or yearly, you get what is called a 1-month trial period. So prior to you getting charged a penny, there'll be no billing to your account for the first 30 days. But sometime half a day or so before that period ends, the subscription is going to kick in, and you'll get charged the appropriate amount based on the subscription that you've chosen. Now, in that 30-day period, you have the right to cancel the subscription. If you go into iTunes on your desktop computer and then go into this, the Manage Subscriptions, you can cancel there. I'll also show you where you can cancel inside the app. But hopefully you'll like the feature so much that you won't cancel. Now, the feature has enabled an auto-renew flag, which will cause the feature at the end of each month, or if you subscribe yearly, at the end of each year, to subscribe again. You can turn this off, but if you turn it off, then you run the chances of having interrupted service. So by having the auto-renew on, you'll always have the feature enabled, and you won't miss any drives. So I'm going to cancel this here because since we're running a simulator, I can't really connect to the App Store. But I do have off-screen here, I'm going to run a version which has the feature enabled. So I'm going to run that, and it'll take a moment, and it'll launch. And there we go. So the screen that we're seeing here is a very important screen. When you get this screen, you absolutely must hit the allow button. What it's asking is that the app is asking for permission to access your location information. If you say don't allow, the feature will not work and it will be a useless feature. So when you see this, click allow. So that's one thing we're going to do there. Now, as you see when I did allow, we see a little red car icon. The red car icon will appear at the top in two screens and two screens only. The entry view screen or the log view screen. So if you launch the app, because these are the two screens you'll land in most often when you launch the app. If you launch the app and see those, then you'll know that the feature is running. Now, let's go into the preferences screen and take a look at the feature. So at the very top, or towards the top, you'll see the AutoTrack subscription section. This is, when in doubt, launch the preferences screen and take a look and see. Your subscription should read active, and it should tell you an expiration date that's sometime in the future. Here it will say either monthly subscription, yearly subscription, or trial period. Now, I mentioned before, if you want to cancel or manage your subscription, there's a place to do it in the app. This is that place. What you would do is you tap on this field. This little arrow indicates that there's more. So if you tap on it, it'll leave the app, go into iTunes Connect. Go into iTunes, the App Store, and allow you to manage your subscription. Now, there's three other preferences here which I want to talk about because they're kind of important. So the status is if the feature is enabled or not. Typically, you'd want to have this enabled all the time. If you wanted to, say, turn off the feature, say you're going on vacation, you want to turn off the feature, here this is where you do it. You tap it off and then hit the save and it will turn it off. Now, this feature, this preference is if you turn it off and leave the app and then come back, if this is on, as it is, it will re-enable it. So it's going to change this from disabled to enabled automatically when you launch the app. And the very last preference is the when to track. This is something you should pay attention to because the app will only record drives between these times and these days. You can turn on and off a day if you want, and you can adjust the time so that it meets your particular needs. So if you know you're never going to record business mileage after 10 p.m., then you would set it to 10 p.m. If you know never after 8 p.m., then you do set 8 p.m. The less time you have tracking, the better the battery usage will be. So it goes into a less a power reduced mode between, say, here 8 p.m. and 6 p.m. Here on this day, on Tuesday, it'd be between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. So pay attention to that, and that would be useful to conserve your battery. And that is the preferences. So what I want to do is now take a look at the drives. So we're going to go back into our log and go into drives. And as you see, once you go driving, it's telling you they'll appear. Let's talk about this before we get started because this screen will come up. You'll see it once and hopefully not see it too often because it just, well, actually you might see it because if you have no drives, if you've approved all your drives, the screen will be empty and you'll see this. But it has a little statement here about be sure you have Wi-Fi enabled. We have that because quite often people like to disable their Wi-Fi in the settings app on their iPhone, and they think they're saving energy. And in fact, they're saving a little bit of energy, but they're in effect disabling the feature. Our app requires that you have Wi-Fi enabled, and it's important. Wi-Fi enabled uses so little power, but it allows us to really fine-tune the battery usage of our feature. So make sure you have Wi-Fi enabled. Now, it says you don't have to be connected to a Wi-Fi network. That is true. You don't have to be on a network. You just have to have the feature enabled. And what the iPhone will use is that as you travel around and it detects networks, it can help it detect your location. So with that said, I'm going to off-screen simulate that we're going to go for a freeway drive. And what will happen now is in the background, the app is tracking your movement, and it's detecting that you're going over a certain speed and that you're moving, and it's recording your drive. Now what's happening is that this screen will be updated. It's approximately every 30 seconds, so pretty soon this will show our new drive. Once the drive appears, then we have the option to approve it. And once you approve a drive, it goes from the drive screen. I'm going to just hit don't remind me again. I'm done with this. I know what the drives button is, so don't remind me again. It will come into this screen here, and this is where your entry is. So remember, the drives, and there's the drive that we're recording. It'll update live here as we're driving. And this is a simulation, obviously. I'm not in Cupertino, but I am simulating going in Cupertino, driving north on 280, and as soon we'll pass in from Cupertino, we'll end up in Sunnyvale, and this will refresh. And every 30 seconds or so, these 0.6 miles will change to the appropriate miles that it's tracking, and I'll just let it sit there for a second, let it go. But while that's happening, you'll notice there's 4 helpful buttons here. These helpful buttons allow you to, and there it is, it just updated, and as I predicted, we're in Sunnyvale now, 1.2 miles. So we have these buttons that if we click on the check all, it'll check all of them. Right now we only have one. If we uncheck all, it'll uncheck all of them. We only have one to uncheck, and I'll make that a little more interesting in a moment. And if you click the approve check, it'll approve all those that we have checked. We haven't checked any. Well, here, if you tap anywhere in this section here, it'll put a check mark next to it. And so I'm going to stop this because I've proven to you that it actually works there. And I'm going to load in a previously recorded log. I'll do this as quickly as I can here. So what I'm doing is I'm choosing a log, excuse me, a backup, which has drives I know. And we'll go into drives, and there they are. So as I mentioned before, if you click the check all, there's the check all. If we uncheck all, whatever. So as you have many drives, this is going to be useful. If you want to delete several of them, you can click this and hit the delete check. I'm not going to do that right now. But I want to show you about the approval process, because what's happening is you'll visit this drive screen, say once a day or once a week, well, it's up to you, and approve the drives as you wish. I'm going to approve this one here, this particular one. So I'm going to click approve, and it gives me the option to enter in a description. I'm just going to type in visit client. Now if I had other frequently used descriptions, I could just click on it and it would just record it. But it also gives me an option to assign a nickname to this address. So if I knew that 960 Worcester Street was a certain location, say, I don't know, let's call it work. It's not, but I'm going to call it work. What it'll do is, when I approve it, it's going to appear here and show me with my nickname and the address, the distance and the amount. So that once I hit this, well, it's already there, so there it is. Let's go back to drives, and we see 2 more drives. I want to show you a cool feature where if you have multiple drives, what will happen is if you stop for more than 5 minutes, it'll assume that the drive has ended, and next time you begin driving again, it'll start the drive. Now what happens if you stop for 5 minutes, but you really didn't consider, say you were just stopping for fuel, and you wanted to combine the drives. So let's say we want to combine these 2 drives. We just tap anywhere in this screen here, and it would combine it. So as you see, the 2.6 and the 1.4 are combined to 4. And then if we go ahead and approve it, you'll see that it'll enter the from address of the first entry and the to address of the second entry, and with the 4 miles, and allow you to approve it. I don't want to approve it right now because I want to show you some really other neat, cool things. So I'm in the app right now, and when you do approve, you see a description. You can save it into whichever log you want. You can view the location to kind of familiarize yourself with where the locations are. But that's about it. But here's something for you existing users that you probably didn't know. If you go into the preferences screen and scroll to the field usage section, I'm going to show you a couple things. Field usage, mileage category. Let's turn that on. Let's see. We can turn on drive time. That's going to be interesting. We'll turn on project. That's going to be interesting. Multiple vehicles. That's going to be interesting. Now, these are all features you don't have to turn on, but I want to show you for those users who want to get a little more out of the app. So we go to the drive screen and we click on approve. Now look, right at the top, we turned on mileage category. Now we have business or personal. So you can assign this business or personal. Vehicle, you can assign it to a vehicle. Create a list of vehicles. Well, we have none here, but you'll be able to create vehicles. Project, so you want to assign a project. Let's do this one more time, because this is very highly used, and I don't want to turn on the client. To drives, hit approve. There's client. So yeah, sure, this is useful and really neat. But what really makes it neat is if you combine and approve. Or actually, no, I take that back. If you click on these two, so you can click those two drives and hit the approve checked. And what it'll do is it'll keep those two entries separated, but it'll allow you to assign either business or personal a vehicle to those two entries. So I'm going to do this because this is going to end the examples I'm going to show. So I'm going to mark those as business. I'm going to mark those as let's say we'll call it we're going to call these. We'll create a new client. Client A. So I have signed client A. I didn't choose a vehicle. I didn't want to. I didn't choose a project. Didn't want to. And I'm going to approve those. Drive empty screen is now empty. And here's the entries. Look, these are the two we just recorded. Click on it. There it is, shown for business, and there's the client A. So this is really, I guess people might be familiar with it more, the term batch, where you have lots of drives and you want to check on them and approve them. So that's a key thing that I wanted to show you. Now, I want to talk about battery usage and enabling and disabling the feature easily. So there's a technique where you can go into the preferences screen, turn off the feature, hit save. You see the little car went away. You leave, and now you're not tracking your mileage. It won't be tracked. So as you see, it's completely disabled. So if you want, you can launch the app and then come in here, and you'll see that it's been enabled again, and that's because we had the feature which is enable AutoTrack upon launching if previously disabled. So that's that feature. I want to show you that. But there's another really neat way of disabling the feature, and saving massive amounts of battery usage. And that's the technique called force quitting. So I'm going to simulate this here. So if you hit the home button, which is the hard button, I'm going to simulate hitting the home button twice. So that leaves actually there it is. So if you leave it, let's do that again. So we're in the app. we leave the app. So as if you hit the home button once. So now we're looking at our list of apps. If you hit the home button twice, let's do that again. So there it is. So if you hit the home button quickly twice, you'll see a list of all the running apps. If you find the app that you wish to force quit, you click on this mini screen here and you drag it up and release. So I'm going to do that. And that will force quit the app. And what that does is it actually stops the app from receiving location information. And that will save and put the app into sort of a lower power reduced mode. But it's not going to record any of your drives while it's in this mode. So you have to remember to launch the app again, click on it, to get it back to tracking your mileage again. So remember that. So if you, once again, I'm going to do that. We're going to go into you leave the app, tap the home button twice, click and drag, release, and that'll quit the app. So I'm going to launch MileTracker again and just have some final words. So we went over using the app, we went over the features. I do want to say that if you're familiar with the feature and you've watched the videos before, you might be a little confused in that there was a feature that allowed you to tap on the title bar of the app to turn on and off AutoTrack. That has since been removed quite a while ago because it was very confusing to users. So we've removed that, and the only way you can enable and disable is through the preferences showed here. You can disable, hit save, it'll disable the feature, or by doing that force quit method. So that concludes the video. I hope this has been very informative for people. We do have several other help videos on our website. So if you go to silverwaresoftware.com and then go to the support page and then click on the help videos, you'll see quite a few help videos on various subjects. Backing up and restoring, emailing and exporting reports. There's even a video for getting started. There's videos on all the other ways to track mileage. So if you were cost conscious and did not want to subscribe and pay for a subscription, there were other ways you could subscribe. There were other ways you could track your mileage, not with this hand-free method of just having the app do all the work, but there are other ways. In fact, there's even one that uses GPS, but it requires you to enter your start, when you start and when you stop driving. So just to keep that in mind. We also have a users forum online, so if you go to silverwaresoftware.com and click on the forum link, you'll see a rather well-visited forum where you can ask questions and either other customers will respond to your question or someone here at Silverware will respond. If you have any specific questions, please email us directly at info@silverwaresoftware.com. And I think that's all for today. Thank you very much for listening.